Hi, this is Emerald and welcome to the Diamond Net, and today I'm going to be talking about libidinal energy and how to use it for personal and spiritual growth. Alright, so before we get into the video, I want to give you a quick definition of what libidinal energy is. Basically, to put it very simply, libidinal energy is creative energy. It's that feeling that we feel when we're engaged with something completely new to us, or we're really feeling that sense of passion toward a particular person or a new undertaking of sorts. And this energy has had many different names throughout many different cultures. So we have Prana, we have Chi, we have life force energy, Shakti, Kundalini, and there's plenty others as well. Alright, so the main takeaway here is that libidinal energy is erotic. Now, when I say erotic, immediately what pops to mind is probably sex and sexuality. And you're absolutely right, sex and sexuality are erotic things. But erotic in a more general sense means life-giving. In fact, sex is considered an erotic thing because it is the process that creates life. That said, sex and sexuality are not the only erotic things. Anything that's erotic is basically life-giving in the sense that it makes you feel alive. So it could be something like a creative endeavor, or even transcendence itself. Now, the reason why I'm making this video actually is because I recently had what I would call an opening experience, where essentially I had libidinal energy that had been blocked, and then all of a sudden everything opened up. And in this experience, it was almost like there was a barrier in the center of my chest that just got burst through. And then all of a sudden there was just like this pulsing outward of all of this like energy, I guess you'd call it. Just this sensation of like pulsing outward. And then also there was this cascading energy coming down my arms and my upper chest as well. And this lasted for about 3 days, and I would have some very interesting symptoms otherwise too. Like there was also some pulsing in my abdomen, and then when I would wake up on certain days, I think it was like 2 of the 3 days, maybe 1 of the 3 days, I'm not sure, but I would feel like my gums were literally crawling. So there were definitely some strange physiological happenings going on with my body. But what was more remarkable was just how very positive I felt. It felt like there was just, like I had just come alive in some way, like there was something moving in me that hadn't been moving in a very long time. And I had really been up above the fray of the normal like things that I would get caught down in. So certain insecurities and hang-ups that I would normally have that I'd be down in the weeds of, all of a sudden it was like I was popped up above those and I could see things from a new perspective, and it was just really clear at the time what decisions I needed to be making that I had been putting off making, and there was just this sense that everything was going to be okay as long as I followed along with what my intuition was telling me. And where I was centering, when before I was always centering very much in my head, it was like there was more of a diffuse awareness and a dropping down into the heart space particularly, but in general just being more okay with just being in the body. And for those 3 days, things were just really, really clear. And then I noticed on around the 3rd day, there was more of a constricting, like it literally felt like the energy was going back up here, like in a really tight way. And I found basically my way back to just about how I was before that opening experience. So most of it didn't get fully integrated. Like I'm not feeling that way now. But it's like having seen that contrast, I can see how important it is to actually deal with things on a physiological body level and to actually be able to be in touch with that libidinal Kundalini energy and to allow it to flow. And that ultimately, it was my concentrating back up into the mind and having to really have my claws dug in there that really kept me from being in touch with what was going on in my body and what was going on in my heart space. And so this is why I wanted to share this information with you guys, because I know that this is what I need to work on most now, because it's clearly shown me that. It shows me which direction I need to go in. And so if that helps anybody else, I'm more than happy to help in that way, and hopefully it does. Now, there's an analogy that I think works really well for libidinal energy, and if you think about libidinal energy as being the thing that lures you toward particular things in life. Like, so for example, it's like you feel an upsurge of libidinal energy when you have a crush on somebody and you want to be as close to that person as possible. So it magnetizes you to that person. Or perhaps you have a passion toward making music or toward painting and you just feel this magnetism toward that endeavor. So that's what libidinal energy is like. It's very directional in a certain sense. And so I like to think of it as like the white rabbit that chases you, or that you can chase down the rabbit hole. So you see the white rabbit and it's running, and you see it like Alice in Wonderland, and you just have to follow this white rabbit to see where it's going. And from there you just end up in this whole totally different place. Now there are many different rabbit holes that libidinal energy can chase you down. So for example, one, it could be chasing you toward a particular relationship with someone. And again, there's that sexual connection there with the libidinal energy. Or again, it could be chasing you toward a particular dream that you have, or a particular, like I said, creative endeavor. Like if you'd always wanted to make clothing or something like that, it might be magnetizing you in that way. Or again, it can be used also in the rabbit hole to end all rabbit holes, to transcend. And I can see very clearly, even though it wasn't any kind of ego transcendence experience that I had during this experience, that my level of awareness, or my ability to be aware and clear, was really improved by just that libidinal energy being able to move freely in my body. Also, another rabbit hole that the white rabbit of libidinal energy can chase you down is the ability to unearth hidden potentials that you have not realized yet, that still hang out in your shadow, little treasures that you haven't found yet, or things that have been actively repressed down into the shadow. You can also unearth those and bring those back into your conscious awareness. And so it's the ability to really be able to allow that magnetic pull of that libidinal energy bring you into certain aspects of yourself, and to give you a passion for actually integrating parts of yourself that you were before averse to. Now, relative to this rabbit hole idea, I find one idea very helpful. So I often like to use the chakra system as a map of sorts. So it's not like, I don't experience any kind of spinning wheels going up the spine. I do feel energy moving there, but I've never actually experienced like a very viscerally clear orb of like spinning energy there. It's just general energetic movement up the spine. But I like it as a map of meaning. So if you think about each chakra and what they relate to as being a particular rabbit hole that the libidinal energy could chase you down, if you think about it as being, well, the root chakra would be like things towards survival, like our very strong motivation to stay alive. And this doesn't get activated very often unless we're in a life or death situation, but it certainly comes into play there. So for example, if we're in this situation, it motivates us to get out, and it gives us the energy to get out. Now, sexuality, that's basically where that remains. So unless we're in a life-threatening situation, most of the time, that libidinal energy is going to very easily draw us to a particular romantic partner. And then if we take it a step up, we have the solar plexus chakra, which relates to concerns about the self and the identity. And so individuation is a process that can be helped along by the presence of libidinal energy. And if you have a thing where you're into personal development, this is like usually where your libidinal energy is going to be at, if you have that motivation to grow yourself. And then of course, libidinal energy, like myself, it can hit you in the area of the heart. And this can open you up to love and your own intuition and following your own emotions. And then you have the throat chakra, and that can be used to open you up in terms of expression. And so a lot of artists and musicians can be very open in the throat chakra, and you can be very motivated in that way to go toward that endeavor. It can also help open you up to insights and give you more clarity. And then also with the transcendence aspect to the crown chakra, where you can essentially be led down the rabbit hole to end all rabbit holes. All right, so the big question here is, how do we actually facilitate this opening? How do we get more in touch with our libidinal energy? And how do we learn to allow it to do its thing, and then also to follow it along in a way that you can channel it toward whatever you'd want to channel it toward? So I think it's important to notice that there's like a couple of steps here. So one big thing is that the mind often gets in the way of what we allow ourselves to think and what we allow ourselves to do. And so the first two steps I'm going to go over have to do specifically with cultivating space in the mind. So the first thing is to break out of rigid thinking and limiting beliefs. So oftentimes we get used to thinking about the world as working a particular way and thinking that, oh, this is a possibility for me and this is not a possibility for me. And so we end up with this projection screen over reality where we end up with so many of our options blocked off, where we don't even realize that we have moves to make. And we just think that we can't do that. We hit a brick wall when there's really open space there. So when we have limiting beliefs, this gives us a false sense of powerlessness and a false sense of being trapped. It's kind of like when they're trying to train elephants to stay put. What they'll do is they'll take a baby elephant and they'll tie a rope around its leg and it'll try to get away, but it won't be strong enough to. And then as the elephant grows, it'll be strong enough to eventually break through the rope, but it'll have learned helplessness so much and learned its own powerlessness that it won't even try to break the rope. And so we have a lot of constraints like this. And so it's important for us to be able to look at that clearly and to be able to pull apart any limiting beliefs or any of those mental barriers that we have to things. All right, the second thing, and this is great for just open-mindedness in general, but it's especially going to help you sort of be able to let go and to allow the libidinal energy to go where it needs to go. So it's to realize how little you actually know about this reality and to really embrace your inherent innocence to the mystery of existence. Because a lot of times the libidinal energy will stop flowing or be constricted in flow just because you feel like you have everything here figured out. Now, we as human beings love certainty and we love to feel like we have things figured out. And when we feel like we don't have the answers, it makes us maybe feel a little bit anxious. But it's really important to investigate this world and to understand that you really don't have anything of reality beyond just your bubble of experience. And so beyond this bubble of experience, you don't know what is, and you don't know what degree that this is all just an illusion or if it's real or what. You know, there are so many metaphysical existential questions that can knock over the conception of reality that you currently have right now and basically make you go, okay, well, actually, I don't know. Like, for example, right now, I think I'm in my room and I think that I'm like recording this video, but who knows, maybe I'm like locked in a mental institution and I'm like just staring at a white wall and I'm so crazy that I have no idea that I'm not even recording a video. You know, and this is a pretty far-fetched idea, but it could very well be the truth. You know, there could be any number of things that are possible. Like, for example, what if reality is only this bubble of experience that I have? Or maybe there's not even a me experiencing this. Maybe there's just kind of a general awareness, and then here's all of this stuff that I see. You know, so there's all kinds of metaphysical questions and existential questions you can ask yourself that'll make you realize how much of a blind spot that you're actually in relative to knowing anything. And it's not so much that you're trying to come to new conclusions about what's real and what's not. It's just to realize our limitations, and through realizing our limitations we can actually open up a bit more to the mystery of existence, which will in turn allow our Kundalini and libidinal energy to flow more freely. Okay, so once clarity on the level of the mind is achieved, then you can move to the body. So again, like I had said, in my experience, it was like before, I always had this attention constricted right up here in the mind space. And then for those few days where I had that opening, I was really in my body and I was really, especially in my heart space, really centered there. And then when it went back to normal, it was kind of like I constricted back up into my mind space. So the thoughts themselves can constrict that, and having this sole focus toward the mind, which we all tend to do, or most of us tend to do, that's going to constrict that energy. So the more you can drop down into your body and be aware of what's going on in your body and all of the sensations that are happening, and being aware of it in a way not so much that you're labeling anything, but just you're experiencing. And so the more you can drop down into the body and to be aware of what's going on, the better. Now, in terms of bringing the attention toward the body, anything like body scan meditation is going to be great for that. So if you take a few minutes out of your day and you focus toward what's going on in your chest, what's going on in your abdomen, what your legs feel like, and really try to feel every sensation, it'll give you a much clearer idea of what currents of energy are already flowing in your body. All right, my fourth piece of advice, and I've found this to be very effective myself, is this is just something that I naturally do because I'm very motivated by connections with other people, is to have a muse. So often what I do is I will imagine, like if I have some kind of creative endeavor that I'm undertaking, or if I'm making a video, or anything of that nature that really requires that Kundalini energy to come and flow outward, is I imagine that I am making those things for a person that's special to me. And it could be somebody who I'm romantically interested in, or it could be just somebody who is a friend of mine, or somebody who I find interesting to talk to. And I often end up like creating these scenarios in my mind when I'm like making what I'm making, or when a new insight is coming up, where I'm actually sharing that with that person. And so it gives this very directional kind of thing toward that muse. So for example, let's say that I know somebody is interested in deep thinking, and I'm coming up with insights that I want to share on my channel. I'll imagine that I'm having a discussion about the insights that I'm getting with that person. And in it being directional, there's much more of a motivation for that to come out and for me to do a good job with it, because there's a sense like I want to give this to that person. And so it's a way to take a certain level of care and love that you have for that person and to encourage that Kundalini energy to come forth. All right, and the fifth and final thing that I recommend is to do various, spiritual and yogic practices that focus toward body awareness and actually moving the energy in the body. So we have Kriya Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, there's acupuncture, there's Reiki, there's Qigong, Tai Chi, anything that's really about moving the energy in the body and being aware of the energy in the body. There's also a thing called bioenergetics. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that it functions off of the same idea. So any kind of practice like that is really going to help you get rid of those blocks that you have to the libidinal energy coming forth. So basically, that's all I have for you for now. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, click the like button below and subscribe. Also, write me a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. Also, I wanted to mention that over the course of the past couple months, I've been taking some life coaching courses. So the one that I'm in right now actually has to do with working toward certification as a life coach, which I've been now dabbling in for about 8 months. So that's something that I'm still offering right now, but I'm also offering dream work coaching. So basically, I had taken a course on dream work for coaching, which the person who puts on the course is Will Share, and he's excellent. I highly recommend it. But basically, the idea behind dream work with coaching is it's taking life coaching, where basically the coach is helping to facilitate exploration and sort of anchoring that back in life by creating certain action steps to go forward with particular goals that a client might have. But with the dream work, it's like the starting point is the dream, and working through that dream to see what messages that the dream is actually trying to convey to the dreamer, and then using that to anchor back in the person's life so that they can maybe go in a particular direction. And I know that during the course, I did a lot of back and forth with a partner that I was assigned with, and I was really amazed actually at how much the process helped me grow and helped me to realize certain things that were being reflected to me in like literally every dream that I hadn't thought of before. And so that's something that I'm offering now. If you're interested in it and you want to ask more questions, what you can do is you can email me at thediamondnetchannel@gmail.com. I also have a place for you to sign up on Patreon or on my website, thediamondnet.org. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Anyway, that's all I have for now. And until next time, keep becoming more you.